talks about why we have a Sudas Malka. One reason is because David Melave was told by the Levinson that he was going to die on a Shabbos. And he didn't know what Shabbos, but he was told he was going to die on a Shabbos. And each time he lived through Shabbos, so it was a time of great joy for all of the Jewish people. So that's one reason why we had a Suda of Malka, so we could sing and be joyous because David, the king, was able to live another week. Another reason that we have Melave Malka, it says it's a cure. The Melave Malka is a cure. So they say, what's it a cure for? So it's brought down that it's a cure for oxidus. It's a cure for sadness. Now, how is Melave Malka a cure for sadness? So they say because when Shabbos leaves and Shabbos departs, so we lose our neshama yisera. We lose the extra soul that is with us for all of Shabbos. And we feel faint and we feel weak. And we're told that in the Messianic era, the times of Mashiach, so we're told that every day will be a Shabbos. Yom Shakul Shabbos Menucha L'Chai Olam. So when we make a Seudah of Melave Malka, and we, as it were, extend the Shabbos, we bring the sanctity of Shabbos into the week. So that brings us joy. Now, the Seudah of Melave Malka is always supposed to be accompanied by a lot of joy and mirth and song. Not only because David Melech was considered the sweet singer of Israel, but because song also helps put joy in the heart of man. It's brought down in the Gemara that the Shekhinah, the divine presence, won't rest on people unless they're in joy. So, this evening, we have one of the hottest groups for your listening pleasure. And that group is none other than Eli Ben Eli. And Eli Ben Eli is a local talent. We didn't have to bring people in from New York, out of town. Their brains behind Eli Ben Eli is our own Eileen Ethel Atlas, so we want to with the boys, and everybody knows Eileen and how wonderful she plays. So, without further ado, and we'll introduce who Eli Ben Eli are. We'll introduce them later. But the first song that they're going to sing is Yom Zemachubad, Shabbos Zemer, Shabbos song. Again, if we're trying to B'mamshich Shabbos, if we're trying to bring Shabbos into the week, what better way than doing it than singing Yom Zemachubad, which is the Shabbos era, Shabbos Zemer. And if you like the song, sing it this coming Shabbos at your own tish. Yom Zemachubad was written by a fellow by Yisrael. If you look at the first stanza, it spells out his name Yisrael. We know nothing else about him other than his name was Yisrael. And the song itself, Yom Zemachubad, is really just a song in honor of Shabbos. And it's a promise, an assurance, that any money we spend on Shabbos, God will give back to us. So now, Yom Zemachubad, if you know any of these songs, please sing along. Eli Ben Eli!
Shabbos
Maariv. Get me one up. The next song we're going to sing, you know, this is talking about the coming of Mashiach. Again, the county theme for Malka, we want to have Mashiach come. And it's also written by a fellow by the name of Eliezer. This song, again, we don't know anything about him other than that his name was Eliezer. And it speaks of the end of days, and when all the nations will fall down, and Israel will be lifted up. Halavai, okay, the song is audio. I promised I'd introduce these young men. And I'm going to do that. Now, Ali Menachem Atlas. He's the son of Shlomo and Eileen. Shlomo is hiding in the corner. So stand up and take him out. He's from the Zuyanim of Tel. Shlomo is very involved with Ali Menachem in learning in Yiddishkeit. You can see it reflected in his song. Now, Ali Menachem and Eliyahu Dov, my son and Sorella's son, they're both named for a very special Kohen, Alec Fried. And those of you who know him know the type of wonderful person he was, and it doesn't surprise me that these boys sing so well because they have the nitzuz of the neshama in singing. Now the last person up here, Ben Seal Moshe Lazovsky, my son, is also he's at Ari Crown, and as my son Eli Dov is at Ari Crown. And Yirtzeh Hashem, he will continue on in the Shiv's Bris with God's help. And he has sung for a while. And all three of these boys also sing in the ATT choir under the direction of Terrence Disley. And so also we have to be makar tov to parents and all the time that he spends with them And without any further ado, we're going to sing our next song, which is Talmud B'Simcha. It's a Mordechai ben David song. It says a person should always be joyous. A person should always be happy. Because whatever comes our way, whatever God does, He does for good. And you may know this one, you may want to tap your toes or sing along again. Talmud B'Simcha. Save some more for later. If you encourage them, clap later. Thank you. Now, for a few words of Torah, I have my notes here. Our speaker tonight is Rabbi Ruvein Levinson. Many of you know Rabbi Levinson, who has been a teacher for many years at the Ari Crown Day School.
We wish him Hatzlacha, success in his new position as Executive Director of the Beis Yaakov's Girls High School, a growing institution here in Chicago, reflective of our community. Rabbi Levinson also teaches a class at the Chicago Community Kollel for professionals with limited backgrounds, and I'm privileged to say that for a while I attended that class. Originally from Detroit, he's lived in Chicago for many years with his wife Miriam, who is a native Chicagoan. Without further ado, Rabbi Levinson, who will speak on Jewish community.
Tonight's Melave Malka, I would call, rather just an ordinary Melave Malka, is a Melave Malka of chizuk, of strengthening. And it's really beautiful to see how you've all gathered together to strengthen one of the future banners, a shul, Im Yirtzeh Hashem, that will be a pride and joy of Chicago. And therefore, I feel privileged and honored to be here. This is the only way I feel like a Rabbi. I have to have a shot. You know, when Moshe Rabbeinu came to the burning bush, there's an unusual statement that is quoted in the Torah. Shal na'alecha mi'al raglecha ki hamakom asher ata omed alav admas kodeshu. Take your shoes off, Moshe, because the ground that you are standing on is holy ground. So the simple understanding is because Hashem, the presence of Hashem was coming forth from that burning bush. And wherever you find the presence of Hashem, it creates holiness. And it is not proper to stand on holy ground with leather shoes, as our Kohanim, when they did the service in the temple, they did it barefoot, so that your actual feet should touch the holiness. You don't want to be separated through a leather shoe from holiness. That's why on Yom Kippur, one of the reasons on Yom Kippur, you wear, well, you're not supposed to wear leather shoes, but some people don't wear shoes at all. The only reason we have a heter to wear the shoes is because we say that rubber, even through rubber, you can still feel the floor, not like leather. The Chafetz Chaim says another understanding. He says that, no, not just because Hashem's holiness was there, created the holiness of the ground. It's because where a Jew stands, wherever a Jew stands, he creates holiness. Ki hamakom asher ata omed alav. The place where you, the Jew, stands is Admas Kodesh, creates holiness. And therefore, you have to do something. And when you have holiness, and if you realize who you are, there is nothing that can stand in your way. There's a famous story that is told in the 1948 War of Independence in our holy land of Israel. And the story goes like this. There was a man by the name of Moshe, who as soon as the British left, you know, the Arabs are already supplied with ammunition, with tanks, with all types of artillery, and they're ready to invade. Of course, the Jewish people didn't have that amount of ammunition or rifles. They were very limited. So Moshe was going to the line where they were passing out the rifles. And when they finally reached Moshe, they didn't have a rifle left. So they gave him a broomstick. And they told him, Reb Moshe, this broomstick from now on will be your protection. It is a rifle. What is it? A rifle. So Moshe is on guard duty one evening, walking back and forth with his broomstick. And all of a sudden in the brush, he hears some rustling. So he takes the broomstick off of his shoulder and he aims it in the direction where he hears the rustling from the bushes. And he says, halt! I have a gun. I have a rifle in my hand. For For some reason, he still hears the footsteps coming closer and closer. And Moshe says, I'll give you another chance. Stop, or I'll have to shoot. Keeps coming closer and closer, till finally, by the rays of the moon, he looks up and takes a close look and sees it's Chaim. Boy, was he afraid. He said to Chaim, Chaim, your life was in danger. Didn't you know that you didn't know what I had? I could have been a rifle pointing at you. So Chaim said to him, Narish, they told me I was a tank. So you see, wherever you have a Yid, where you have a good Jew, everything, the impossibles can be accomplished. There's also a famous medrash, and this is more of a serious line. There's a medrash that says that the nations of the world came before HaKadosh Baruch Hu. And they said, Hashem, why do you love the Jewish nation? What's so great about it? What's so unique? So Hashem said, I'll show you. We have 70 nations in the world. Originally, you know, there were 70 nations. All the languages that we speak is just a combination of the original 70. They're mixed in, like English has mixed in Latin. English is not a pure language. There were 70 pure nations. Said, bring up a representative of each of the nations. Okay? So they bring up a representative from each of the 70 nations, and they're brought into a banquet hall. And they all sit down at these long tables, and each one is sitting opposite his fellow friend. Long tables, sitting opposite each other. Then Hashem orders that malachim, angels, should be the waiters, and they come in with soup, delicious soup. And they place the soup on the tables in front of these representatives of the 70 nations. Now, these are the non-Jewish nations of the world. And alongside each one is placed a long spoon with a long handle, real long. Then Hashem says, okay, close the door, you can all partake. So they listen by the door, and they hear anger coming forth, shouting and screaming. What was the problem? Each one with this long, long spoon was trying to put in the bowl of soup that was placed in front of him, trying to eat it himself. And was spilling all over it. It's very difficult to eat with a long spoon. And until the end came, they threw the spoons on the floor and they all left in anger. Then Hashem said, clear the tables and bring in the Jewish people. So 70 of the greatest, the wisest of the Jewish people were brought in. The same situation, soup was placed in front of them, the long spoons also, and they're sitting opposite each other at the table. The doors are closed. They hear singing, they hear happiness, joy. They open up the doors, and lo and behold, each one, they're sitting opposite each other, each one is taking their spoon and putting it in the soup of his friend across the table and is feeding him. And he's sitting over here, putting it in his soup and feeding him. So what is the Medrash trying to teach us? The Medrash is trying to teach us you cannot succeed in life if you're just for yourself. If you're considerate and you are sensitive to your fellow Jew, if you care about him, you help him, you are mechazik him, that's the uniqueness of the Jewish people. Sensitivity, care, throwing yourself away sometimes for the benefit of someone else. Tremendous lesson. And that's our uniqueness, ad hayom hazeh, till this very day. Problem that arises when you're for yourself, you're never happy. Remember Michael Tversky from Milwaukee said over this story. He turned to be a storyteller, but it's a tremendous story. We'll never be happy about the same situation of a Mr. Chaim next to a Mr. Moshe. They live across the street from each other in the normal neighborhood, in the west side, way back, until finally one day Chaim gets a tremendous job and he buys his Cadillac. And Moshe sees him with a Cadillac, and Moshe says, if he gets a Cadillac, I get a Cadillac too. And he works hard and makes enough money to purchase a Cadillac. Then Moshe moves out of the neighborhood, moves up to this plane, to wherever you are, in Dempster. And what happens, Chaim sees this. So Chaim says, if he can move out there, I'm going out there too. And then one day, what happens? Moshe says to Chaim, you won't believe this. I have a telephone in my car. Telephone in the car? Yeah. Want to try it? Tries it. Wow, he's trying to keep up with him. He never says, okay, he's going to show him. So what happens? Moshe goes and purchases a telephone, puts it in his car too. And while they're both driving, so Moshe dials the car number of Chaim and says, hi Chaim, this is Moshe. I'm speaking to you from my Cadillac, my telephone. And Chaim says to Moshe, oh, that's wonderful, that's tremendous. Then all of a sudden, Moshe, who made the phone call, hears by Chaim's car another ring, a ring. So Chaim says to Moshe, excuse me a minute, Moshe, I have to answer the other phone. If you're for yourself, there's no end. There's no end. And you don't even benefit. You're never happy. You're always looking for more. A good Jew is happy with his lot. If he tries to become better, he shares whatever he has. That's the message. That's a tremendous message. So far you've learned the following. Where a Jew stands, he creates holiness. A Jew is somebody. No matter where you are, who you, or what situation you're in, you're somebody. There used to be a poster. The Almighty doesn't make junk. We're not junk. We're unbelievable people. We're special. We're proud to be special. And our uniqueness lies in the fact that we care about others and stay away from thinking only of yourself. And now to the last few thoughts that have crossed my mind. This is a similar situation that you're in. There once was a Yid that was watching the construction of a shul. They were building a shul. And he was thinking, what goes through the minds of these bricklayers? These are bricklayers that are building the walls of the shul. So he goes to one side where they're building the wall. And he says to the bricklayer, what's going through your mind? What's going through my mind? He says, every brick is $1. I'm going to make it today. Every brick is $1. Okay, one opinion. Goes to another side. Another person's putting on bricks. He says, what's going through your mind? He says, I'm so tired of looking at these bricks. All I do every day for the last week is put on bricks, cement, mortar, bricks, nacha brick, nacha brick. I'm getting tired. Then he goes to a third side, a Yiddish bricklayer, and he says to him, what goes through your mind? He says, I'll tell you the truth. Every brick is building a house for Hashem. I'm building the place where the holiness is going to reside. Could I be occupied in a better perfection? This is my profession. Building a house for the Almighty. And that's what you're doing. You're building a shul, a house for Hashem Yisborach, where you're going to have the following brachas, and with this I'll conclude. The last medrash. And this is beautiful. The medrash says that all the fruits of the world came before the Holy One with a complaint. What was the complaint? Well, the apple says, when you kvesh an apple, you get the juice. What bracha do you make? Shaham. If you take a grapefruit and you squeeze the grapefruit, you get the juice. What bracha do you make on the juice? Shaham. It says it doesn't seem right. Take a grape and you squeeze a grape and you get the juice. What do you make? Borei pri hagafen. The grapefruit is bigger than the grape. The apple is bigger than the grape. The plum is bigger than the grape. The orange is bigger than the grape. How come the little grape gets a special, unique bracha for its juice of Borei pri hagafen, and we're all shahakol niya b'dvar? So Hashem said, I'll tell you. He says, how do you grow on a tree? You grow as individuals. By yourself, in your natural way of growth, that's your size. How does a grape grow on a vine? It doesn't grow individually, it grows in a cluster. If you grow in a cluster, then every little tiny single grape sticking together in that cluster is bigger than each and every one of you. And therefore it deserves a special bracha. Therefore my bracha to you is, stick together, help each other, build that shul, and you'll be a true nachas to Klal Yisrael, and you'll deserve a special bracha.
If I'd been prepared, we would call cards now and get everybody to pledge, but I'm not prepared. Thank you very much. We have Eli Ben Eli coming back. What do you think? Should we bring him back? Yeah. All right.
Levinson, I want you to know that whenever I see Rabbi Levinson, we exchange barcodes. Used to see him, we'd be walking on the street for Hashem. I'd be coming from one show or going to one show. He'd be coming from one show, going to another show. Whenever we'd see him, I would get happy. Because he'd tell me stories like this. They were such an inspiration, they were so beautiful. And now you know why our children, whether they go to Tzvi, or to Yaakov, or Ari Proud, or the Tells or the Bris, why the children are so wonderful. Because they have Ruvein like Rabbi Levinson. So we hope Kesser Maariv, and we just wish you bracha v'atzlacha and b'chol ma'aseh yadecha with you and your Rebbe's and the whole mishpacha. The next tune that Eli Ben Eli will be singing is another Mordechai Ben David tune, also from his latest album. His latest album, Mordechai Ben David, has a song called Jerusalem, Yerushalayim. And in it he sings, he's making a political statement that Jerusalem will be our eternal capital. It will never be split. It will never be given away. It's ours forever. And this is the song that, the next song that Eli Ben Eli will sing. And if you wonder why we're partial to Mordechai Ben David's song, I'll tell you. Everything is Yad Yishma. Everything comes through Ben Shalom. My wife and I took a vacation a few days to St. Louis. We got to St. Louis, everybody saw us there, they go, oh, you're visiting Mishpacha. We said, no, we're just here. You're just here? Who goes to St. Louis? We're from St. Louis to go to Chicago. What are you coming here for? But Sarah and I, we go to Detroit for 48 hours. So we go. It's a little place. But in the car, excuse me, 53 hours. My daughter Tehila corrects me. Sorry, Tehila. 53 hours. But in the car on the way there, so we bought a tape. Who was the tape by? Mordechai Ben David. And we listened to the tape, and we were singing to the tape. And a few years ago, my son Ben Sion Moshe So he had the privilege of singing with Mordechai and David. He did. And he did a good job. I shouldn't say it because he's my son, but other people said it. He did a good job. And my son Ben Sion is named after my brother Martin Oliver Shalom, who also had a neshama that was sweet, that was chavin, was always involved in doing business. So this is why we do the Mordechai and David song, because we remember them with fondness, going from place to place. Levinson also because, in addition to being a very articulate and gifted teacher and speaker, he also teaches the boys murals. So, when you come home with the Shabbos dish, and they sing the song. So it's one more thing we have to be marker tone. The next song that the boys are going to sing is a song that we all sing, we all say before we go to sleep each evening. Malka Goel Osi, the angel that redeemed me. It is a song, of course, that was making reference to the children. As we know from today's Sedra, the Ruvein Shalom wanted to give the Torah to the Jewish people, but he wanted guarantors. And the guarantors that he wanted were not Shamayim Boretz. The Ruvein Shalom says the Shamayim will be changed, so they're not acceptable as guarantors. He said, well, Avraham, Yitzchak, and Yaakov, the Jewish people, said these are certainly going to be acceptable guarantors. Ruvein Shalom said, no, sorry, they can't serve as guarantors either. So finally, the Bnei Israel thought about it, and said, our kinderlach, our children will be our guarantors. And Ruvein Shalom said, now I'll give you the
Malka
bringing the Shekhinah here tonight. The last song is a song called Samchem. Samchem is a song where we ask to rejoice in the rebuilding of the base of Mikdash. We hope and pray that each and every one of us, with our own unique gifts, with our own unique contributions, we should all rejoice in the rebuilding of the base of Mikdash. Samchem.
Cassettes and CDs from these guys, huh? All right. In just a few minutes, we'll ask Victor Katz to lead us into benching, but before we get there are some sweets over in the corner. So if you want to run over and get them before we bench, get it. I want to take a minute to thank the following people for helping us set up tonight, because this whole event just did not happen by itself. Faith Harris, Eli Latowski, Joe Risco, Eva Hoffenberg, Jeff Gottesman, Dorothy Goldberg, Yitzhak, where are you? Yitzhak. Like, what's the correct pronunciation of your last name? I have it written here, but I'm afraid to try. Gutierrez, thank you. Also, Esther Fagan, our deepest thanks to Dottie Levant for all her help in many ways tonight. She set up the sweet table and she was here under duress because her daughter had a minor accident before the month was over. So thank you for coming and we wish her a foolish shlema. Also to Aviva Gordon, who worked so hard day and night. Think about Aviva. We apologize for all the headaches you gave you, and thanks to your husband for allowing me to. I think I made a goof before. It was Faith's daughter that had the accident, and we wish her a foolish shlema. Again, we thank Rabbi Ruvein Levinson, Eli Ben Eli, Eileen Atlas, and her husband Shlomo for donating their services tonight. They are available. Thank you all for coming, and in just a few minutes, we'll begin the third Hanukkah.